Hello, this is Miroslava, the Metaphysical chick, and I am back with another video. And this is going to be all about the higher self, my perspective of the higher self. So, yeah, let's dive in. Alright, so I recently shared a video about a message from the Galactic Federation, the Astral Command, the Multiverse Council. They really came in with the message about us reconnecting with the higher self and to access all the information from that space, from that higher self, from that force or that energy, because the information that our higher self holds is without distortion. And when external beings come in sharing information, it is their perspective, and it is, the information heavily relies on their level of awareness, their level of consciousness. So yeah, especially when the information is coming from humans like myself. The information that I am giving you is heavily distorted by my own perspective and my own level of awareness and consciousness. So definitely take this with a grain of salt and discern the information and take only what resonates with you. So yeah, this is only my perspective. Recently I was having a conversation via text message with a friend, Angelica, if you're watching. And we were talking about how the higher self, when we connect to that energy, it comes in as a collective or as a collection of many beings. And the reason this shows up this way is because this is my own experience. A few months ago, I had this meditation with Archangel Michael, and he showed up to take me on a galactic interdimensional ride. It was during that time that I had just started to really consciously work with my Merkaba, and so he was showing up to take me somewhere, and I said yes, and we went to a few places, and maybe I'll dive into those stories in another video. I do believe I shared some of the stories, some of the experiences that I had during this meditation or this consciousness intergalactic travel in one of my TikToks. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll link that in the description box. But one of the things that I saw, or one of the places he took me to, was to the realm where my higher self resides. That was an incredible experience because it was something like I have never seen or experienced before. But yeah, so let me tell you what that looked like. I was in this kind of temple or building, but it was all light. There was golden light. And when I stepped into this temple, I had no idea of where I was, but I stepped in, and Archangel Michael took a step back, and he was like, go ahead. So I was like, okay, well, let me go in. And so I walked in, and I was looking around, and I saw this light force, this light being showing up and walking towards me. And I was like, well, who the hell are you? But the energy was very beautiful. It was very pure. I was not afraid, but I was just very intrigued as to who this being was. But the being said, I am you. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? And so I eventually found out that this being was indeed a reflection of me, or like me, and that the temple that I was in was my higher self, and this was the container in which, or the realm in which, my higher self resides. And so I remember at one point merging with this light being, which was like a collection of everything that I've ever been, the energetic blueprints and signatures of everything that I've ever been. And I remember once I started like really merging with this higher self, that we exploded and we became like this huge ball of light, of golden light. And I remember in that moment I was having access to that God consciousness, because my higher self is one with that God consciousness. I am right now one with that higher consciousness, but I don't really have access to it because of the frequencies. And so, well, we all have access to it, but you know, we need to be in a good space to be able to actually get information from there, because if we still are holding a lot of trauma and a lot of fear, then the information is going to be heavily distorted and the connection is not going to be pure. So when I was in that space, this pillar of light kind of exploded and like went directly to the central sun. That's the only way I can explain this, but it was like this huge ball of golden light, and we were becoming one with it. And it was actually a very intense experience because the energetic exchange was so intense, and I was not used to that sort of energy, and so it was like electric shocks, and it was a lot. But this whole experience is just to say that indeed our higher self is not just one being, or it's not just one energy, but a collection of everything that our soul has ever been. And what our soul has ever been is everything. So we are indeed infinite beings of light, also infinite beings that hold darkness, because in order to know the light we must also know darkness, and we are curious beings and we want to know everything. And so we dived into those levels of darkness to understand. And the way I see this is that I wouldn't be able to be here this lifetime, where, you know, darkness is a lot of the energy that is around us, and actually make a change without knowing what darkness looks like or what darkness does and how it works. So I feel that, you know, like we've all had to be there at one point and experience that energy at one point in order to understand and in order to be here and actually do something. I do believe that us accessing that higher consciousness that is our higher self is really where the truth lies, because again, there is no distortion. But yeah, it does take a lot of work on our part to be able to get to a space, to a mental and spiritual space in which, an emotional space in which we are able to retrieve information without, or with as little distortion and interferences as possible. Is there anything, higher self, that you want to add to this video? How do we access you? Okay, so first, what we must do is really control the analytical brain, that reptilian brain, you know, that we all have. And so what we can do is really chill. Come back to our heart and really, because the analytical brain is constantly overthinking scenarios and overthinking things. And so if we show up, for example, to a meditation to connect with our higher self, and we have an expectation, then the expectation may not be met. And so show up without expectations, without overthinking different scenarios or overthinking of what your higher self could possibly be, and what the collection of beings and energetics that that higher self holds could possibly be. So show up without expectations and just show up with, you know, just with an open mind. And whenever you receive information, again, don't overthink it. If you're able to, write it down, and then once you come out of the meditation, start reading over the information and see, you know, what resonates and what feels right. A lot of the times when we are receiving that information, it is accurate, but, you know, because we don't believe it, because we don't trust our magnificence, our greatness, we just think that we're crazy and we're making it up, and we go on to someone else's video to get the information from there. But it's like, you have the information here, but again, the information can be distorted because of the trauma, the fear, and the energy that we are holding within this physical human form. And so again, do the healing, face the trauma, face the fears, and really take control back from your ego, so that you can start acting and thinking and feeling from a place that is more pure and without distortion. And something that is so beautiful and that I was told is that when the brain works in coherence with the heart, this creates this beautiful quantum portal to other aspects of us that exist within this universe, but also in other universes. We are able to access information that exists across the cosmic web, the cosmic webs of many realities, many potentials. And so when we open the heart and we have a brain that works in coherence with that sacred space within this being, within our being, then we are able to retrieve information that is so beautiful and so powerful and so empowering for our own individual experience. And if you're comfortable, then you can definitely share that with other people. My battery is dying, and I think that's a sign that this is it. So if you do have any questions, let me know. And yeah, all the links to my services and my quantum crystals are in the description box. And we'll see you next time. Bye.